This video is about the mom walked into the university library and a rich stranger returned her lost scarf. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The scent of aged paper and the faint hum of whispered conversations enveloped the university library. It was a sanctuary for Emily Thornton, a graduate student pursuing her Master's in literature. The library's tall oak shelves were filled with volumes that had witnessed generations of students, each book a guardian of countless stories. Emily had always found solace in this place, a refuge where her imagination could roam freely, unshackled by the mundane responsibilities of her life. As she walked to her favorite corner, an inviting nook bathed in the warm glow of her reading lamp, she absent-mindedly brushed her fingers over the velvet fabric of her navy scarf. It had been a gift from her mother, a reminder of home and warmth, especially during the cold, dreary winters in the city. Just a moment, she mumbled to herself as she set her belongings down, carefully laying out her notebooks and stack of reference books. She felt a rush of excitement. She had plans to dive into the world of metaphysical poetry that evening. But before she could open her first book, a sudden gust of wind blew through the library's entrance, causing the heavy doors to creak. Emily turned just in time to see a man entering, his presence commanding attention. He wore a tailored coat that hinted at a wealth far beyond the average student's budget, and his sharp features were framed by tousled dark hair that seemed to effortlessly fall into place. He scanned the room, his gaze brushing over students lost in their studies until it landed on her. Their eyes met, and in that instant, the air throbbed with an unspoken connection. Emily felt her heart quicken, a flutter of nerves dancing in her stomach. "Excuse me," he said, his voice slow and smooth as he approached her. "I believe you dropped this." He held out her scarf, the fabric shimmering slightly under the library lights. "No, thank you," Emily replied, embarrassed that she hadn't noticed. "I am always misplacing things." She reached out to take it, the fingers grazing briefly, igniting an unexpected warmth. "I am Evan," he introduced himself, a charming smile playing on his lips. "I saw it caught in a wind outside, thought it might belong to someone who could use it more than the pavement." "Emily," she replied, her voice softening, still acutely aware of the lingering sensation from their touch. "I didn't realize I'd lost it. I am glad you happened to be there." He leaned against the bookshelf beside her, exuding an air of confidence that made her both intrigued and anxious. "What brings you to the library on a chilly evening? A passionate quest for knowledge?" "Something like that," she said, her cheeks warming as she felt his gaze linger. "I am working on my thesis about the emotional depth in metaphysical poetry. It is a bit intense." "Intense can be good," Evan replied, tilting his head slightly, his dark eyes sparkling with interest. "I admire anyone diving deep into a subject like that. Poetry can be incredibly revealing." "Do you write?" she asked, suddenly curious about this man who seemed to have an effortless charm. "Not as much as I should," he admitted, his expression shifting momentarily to one of introspection. "I've always favored the business side of things, but I enjoy reading, especially poetry. It has a different kind of language." Emily nodded, feeling a strange kinship with him. "It definitely is. It can express what is often left unsaid." She felt the weight of his attention, an intensity that made her heart race and her breath hitch slightly. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, punctuated by soft laughter and shared glances. Yet, as they spoke, Emily couldn't shake off a nagging feeling in the back of her mind. He seemed worlds apart from her, wealthy, confident, and undoubtedly busy with his life. Why would someone like him take an interest in a girl like her? "Are you from around here?" Evan asked, breaking her reverie. "Not really," she replied. "I am originally from a small town. I came to the city for university and never looked back." "Must be quite the change for you," he mused, leaning in as if to catch every word. "What is it like?" "It is overwhelming at times," she admitted. "The noise, the pace, but it is also exhilarating. There is so much to learn and experience." "I can't imagine living anywhere else," he said casually, but his eyes held a depth that suggested there was more beneath the surface. Just as Emily's curiosity about him began to grow, the sound of a phone ringing startled her. "Sorry," she said, fumbling for her bag. "I should take this." She glanced at the screen. It was her mother calling, always checking in, always wanting to know how her daughter was doing. "No problem," Evan replied, his tone light, yet something in his eyes hinted at disappointment, perhaps at the sudden interruption. Emily stepped aside, answering the call. "Hi, Mom," she said, forcing a bright inflection in her voice. But as she listened to her mother's familiar concerns about her well-being, she stole glances at Evan, who was now pretending to flick through books, though his posture told a different story. He was waiting. Emily, her mother's voice broke through the haze of her thoughts. Are you seeing anyone? You know, it is important to meet people, make connections. Mom, I am fine, she replied, a bit sharper than intended, remembering her earlier thoughts about how different she felt from someone like Evan. When she finally hung up, she took a moment to collect herself, feeling a bit guilty for the irritation that crept into her tone. Sorry about that, she said, returning to Evan, who watched her with a knowing smile. Family calls, right? Always checking in, he said, the warmth in his voice easing her tension. Yeah, Emily said, trying to shake off the weight of her mother's expectations. It is just she worries. I get it, mind you too, Evan replied, a hint of sincerity in his words. But you were here in this moment, that is what matters. As they continued their conversation, Emily found herself drawn to him. His insights were refreshing, and the chemistry between them seemed to radiate with every passing minute. Yet in the back of her mind, doubt crept in. Was she just another fleeting encounter for him? Just then, an underclassman brushed past them, a hint of jealousy flaring in Evan's demeanor as he watched the girl approach. Emily noticed the possessive glint in Evan's eye and felt a strange mix of excitement and trepidation. Is everything okay? She asked, trying to read him. Yeah, just a bit distracted, he replied, though his voice seemed to carry an edge. This place can be a little chaotic. Right, she said, feeling a small pang of uncertainty. I guess it can be. The moment hung in the air, thick with tension as they regarded each other, both caught in the intricate dance of new attraction. Emily could sense the unvoiced words lingering between them, the potential for something deeper. But doubts loomed large, whispering questions that made her heart flutter with apprehension. As she turned back to her notes, she couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was just the beginning of something unexpected, a story unfolding amidst the shelves of the library, where words held power and emotions ran deep. Emily shifted uncomfortably in her chair, the momentary distraction of Evan's brief jealousy lingering in the air like a charged electric current. She tried to refocus on her notes, but her mind danced between the pages of her poetry references and the intensity of Evan's gaze. Do you read much poetry? Evan asked, breaking the silence, his voice low and biting. I do, she replied, grateful for the shift in focus. I am really drawn to the metaphysical poets Donne and Herbert. They have a way of exploring love and existence that feels so raw and genuine. He leaned in slightly, intrigued. What is it about that rawness that speaks to you? She paused, searching for the right words. I think it is the vulnerability they express. Poetry can expose the deepest parts of us, and I find that exhilarating. It is like peeling back layers and finding something beautiful beneath. Evan's dark eyes flickered with understanding. That is a profound way to look at it. We often hide behind our facades, thinking it protects us, when, in fact, it keeps us isolated. Exactly, Emily said, her heart racing as she caught a glimpse of his own vulnerability. And it is in moments of honesty that we truly connect with others, isn't it? Very true, he replied, his voice dropping to a whisper, creating an intimate atmosphere that made her skin tingle. But it is scary to let someone see those layers. What if they don't like what they find? Or worse, she mused, what if they've been through similar things and can't help but judge you for it? As she spoke, she felt a thrill of fear and excitement push against the boundaries of her heart. Evan nodded, the shadows in his expression deepening. And yet, that is the risk we take when we open ourselves up. Sometimes the fear of being judged can hold us captive longer than the actual judgment. Emily considered this, her thoughts dancing between the words they exchanged and the undeniable chemistry bubbling between them. Do you think we all have scars from the past? Without a doubt. His gaze held hers, intense and unwavering. Every single person carries them, even if they hide them well. I think it is how we learn to love and connect with others that matters. His words struck a chord deep within her, echoing her own fears and doubts about relationships, her past experiences of feeling unworthy. You seem to have a handle on it, she said, a hint of admiration in her tone. Do you have a lot of experience with love? He chuckled softly, though the sound didn't reach his eyes. More than I do care to admit, but not always the kind of love that lasts. I've made my share of mistakes. She caught a flicker of regret in his expression, a glimpse of pain that intrigued her more than it intimidated her. I think we all make mistakes in love, she replied softly. It is part of the learning process. Their exchange felt uncomfortably intimate, the kind that sent shivers down her spine while simultaneously warming her heart. Just then, a group of noisy students entered the library, laughing and joking loudly. Evan's attention momentarily shifted, and Emily felt a connection waver, the energy disrupted by the intrusion. Seems like the library's magic is fading, he said, his smile returning but tinged with a trace of disappointment. I guess we should find a quieter spot if we want to continue this conversation. Good idea, she said, her heart sinking slightly at the thought of moving, yet thrilled at the prospect of more time with him. There is a reading room on the second floor, less traffic up there. Lead the way. Evan stood up, and as he walked beside her, she couldn't help but notice how his presence seemed to fill the space around them, radiating comfort and allure. They climbed the narrow staircase, the air thick with anticipation. When they entered the reading room, Emily felt a sudden rush of intimacy. The soft glow of lamps illuminated a handful of tables nestled in cozy corners. A few students were scattered around, but the atmosphere was much quieter. Emily settled into a plush armchair in the corner, grateful for the inviting ambience. Evan chose a seat across from her, and she couldn't help but admire how he seemed at ease, yet there was an intensity about him that was impossible to ignore. So, tell me more about your thesis, he urged, leaning forward, his elbows resting on his knees, a gesture that felt surprisingly intimate. Right, she said, getting lost in his gaze. I am exploring how metaphysical poets convey the complexity of human emotions and relationships. They delve into love, loss, and longing, which resonates with me on so many levels. What do you think they would say about modern love? He asked, genuinely curious. She paused, mulling over the question. I think they'd be fascinated by it, the complexities of technology and social media add layers to relationships that didn't exist before. It's like we were constantly connected but profoundly disconnected at the same time. Evan nodded thoughtfully. That's a keen observation. It makes me wonder if they would embrace or criticize it. Perhaps both, Emily suggested, feeling the spark of discussion light up between them. They might see beauty and chaos in it, much like they did in their own lives. I like that. Evan's smile widened, and she felt a flutter of warmth fill her. You have a way of viewing the world that is refreshing. Thanks, I try, she replied, her cheeks warming at the compliment. But really, I think it is just my way of coping with the chaos around me. Coping? He asked, his expression shifting, a hint of concern etching his features. Is that what you read doing? Coping? A flicker of honesty in his gaze made her heart race. Maybe I am. It is easier to get lost in the words of others than to confront my own feelings sometimes. She swallowed hard, feeling exposed, but somehow liberated in this moment of sharing. Emily, he began, but then paused, as if weighing his words carefully. You shouldn't have to do that. You have so much to offer, so much depth. It is okay to feel lost. I am just trying to figure things out, she admitted, her voice softening as emotions bubbled beneath the surface. Sometimes it feels overwhelming. Life is overwhelming, love is overwhelming, he said, his tone deep with understanding. But it is also beautiful, and it is worth pursuing, worth risking vulnerability for. Her breath caught at the weight of his words, the sincerity behind them. Do you believe in love at first sight? She asked, daring to tread into deeper waters. I believe in connection at first sight, he replied, leaning back slightly, and for a moment, the air thickened with unspoken tension. Love that takes time. It is built on trust, shared experiences, but that connection, he paused, locking eyes with her, it is special. Something flickered between them, a current of possibility that felt palpable. Emily could feel the heat rising between them, the question swirling in her mind. Was this just a fleeting moment, or something more profound? Before she could voice her thoughts, he shifted in his seat, breaking the spell. What about you? He asked, a teasing glimmer in his eyes. Do you believe in love at first sight? The words caught in her throat, uncertainty creeping in. I think it can happen sometimes, you just know, but it is the moments after that really matter. Moments like this, he asked, tilting his head slightly, his expression softening. What if this is our moment? The weight of his question lingered in the air, heavy with unspoken possibilities. Emily felt her heart race, a mix of excitement and dread. Would she dare to leap into the unknown? Evan's gaze held hers unwavering, as if he were waiting for her answer, one that could change everything. But just as she opened her mouth to respond, the door swung open, interrupting the fragile moment. A familiar voice cut through the air. Emily, there you are. It was Jess, her roommate, a whirlwind of energy as she rushed into the room. I've been looking for you everywhere. Emily turned, her heart sinking slightly at the interruption. Hey, Jess, she replied, feeling the tension dissolve into the background as reality crept back in. Evan sat back, his expression subtly shifting, the intimacy they just shared evaporating like mist in the morning sun. Are you ready for dinner? I thought we could try that new Italian place. Jess continued, oblivious to the charged atmosphere that had just existed. Ah, sure, Emily said, reluctantly pulling away from the moment with Evan. I'll just grab my things. As she gathered her notes, she felt Evan's gaze on her, a mix of disappointment and something else, maybe an unspoken longing. She hesitated, wanting to say more, wanting to bridge the gap that Jess's arrival had created. But as she reached for her bag, Jess's chatter filled the space, enveloping her in a familiar warmth of friendship. "Though I met the cutest guy at the cafe," Jess exclaimed, her voice bubbling with excitement. "You wouldn't believe how sweet he was." Emily forced a smile, her heart still. Emily tightened her grip on her bag, forcing herself to focus on Jess's enthusiastic recounting of her day rather than the way Evan's gaze lingered on her. She could feel the warmth of his presence even as the distance grew between them, and it made her heart race. "You okay?" Jess asked, finally catching a glimpse of Emily's distracted expression. "You seem a bit out of it." "Yeah, I am fine," Emily replied, attempting to project a nonchalant vibe. "Just thinking about my thesis and stuff." She winced inwardly at how unconvincing she sounded. "Right, the thesis," Jess said, her eyes lighting up with mischief. "But you should really think about your social life too. You can't study poetry all the time." Emily felt her cheeks flush. How could she explain to Jess the magnetic pull she felt towards Evan, a connection that seemed to defy logic? "Of course, I know," she said, trying to sound lighthearted. "But this dinner sounds good. I could use a break." "Perfect, let us go then," Jess said, bouncing on her heels. "You won't believe the pasta they serve. It is like a hug in a bowl." As they turned to exit, Emily couldn't help but steal one last glance at Evan. He was still seated, his expression unreadable as he watched her leave. The moment hung in the air, and for a fleeting second she felt the world narrowed down to just him and the promise of what could be. "Where's to Emily?" Jess's voice broke through her reverie, causing her to pivot back to reality. "You are not daydreaming about some rich stranger, are you?" "Very funny," Emily replied, rolling her eyes, though a smile tugged at her lips despite herself. The playful banter with Jess had always been a source of comfort. As they stepped out into the brisk night air, Emily's mind wandered back to Evan's intense gaze and their earlier conversation. What would he have said if Jess hadn't interrupted? This internal tug-of-war left her feeling restless, almost giddy with possibilities. "Seriously, though, you should let loose once in a while," Jess continued, oblivious to Emily's internal struggle. "You were always so serious. I know this incredible guy who—" "Jess, I am not looking for a relationship," Emily interjected, her voice sharper than intended. She caught the flash of surprise on Jess's face, immediately regretting her bluntness. "Sorry, I didn't mean to snap." "Hey, no worries. I just want to see you happy," Jess said gently, placing a hand on Emily's arm. "You deserve to have fun too." "I know," Emily replied, her heart softening. "I appreciate it, really. Just I guess I have a lot on my plate right now." "Gotcha. Just don't forget to live a little, okay?" Jess said, her tone teasing, but her eyes held a genuine concern. Once they entered the restaurant, the rich aroma of garlic and fresh herbs enveloped them. Emily could barely register the cozy, candlelit atmosphere as her mind drifted back to Evan. What if he was already gone from the library, swept up in his own world? The thought nagged at her, and she felt a pang of regret for leaving so abruptly. "Look at that cute waiter," Jess exclaimed, drawing Emily back to the present. "He is totally checking you out." Emily glanced over, catching the eye of a young waiter who smiled at her. "Thanks, but I am really not interested." "Come on, you have to at least acknowledge that attention," Jess nudged, her excitement bubbling over. "You should flirt a little, that is good for you." Feeling flustered, Emily waved her hand dismissively. "Flirting isn't exactly my forte." Jess pouted, unconvinced. "You be too hard on yourself. Trust me, you've got it in you. Just be yourself." As they settled at a corner table, Emily's thoughts continued to drift toward Evan. She replayed their conversation, each moment a delicate thread weaving through her memories. What if he was different? What if he was someone with whom she could share more than just a passing interaction? "Where's to Emily?" Jess's voice broke through once again. "What is going on with you? You re miles away." "Sorry," Emily replied, shaking her head to clear her thoughts. "You're just thinking about class and deadlines." "Sure you are," Jess smirked knowingly. "But it is okay. You can tell me about Mr. Tall, dark, and mysterious later." Emily laughed, but her heart was heavy with the unspoken questions. Why was she feeling this way about a man she barely knew? The thrill of unknown possibilities danced through her, yet a seed of doubt rooted itself deep within her mind. As their meal progressed, Jess animatedly shared her stories of the day, but Emily found it difficult to stay present. Every so often, her mind would flicker back to the library, to Evan's compelling presence and the way he made her feel as if they were the only two in the world. Finally, after they finished their pasta, Jess nudged Emily playfully. "Okay, Spill, what is the deal with that guy? You can just leave me hanging." "His name is Evan," Emily started, her voice low as if speaking about a secret. "He found my scarf, and we just talked." "Talked? Is that what you call that?" Jess teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief. You were practically ready to leap into his arms. "Stop it," Emily said, laughter spilling out despite her embarrassment. "It wasn't he like that." "Really?" Jess raised an eyebrow, leaning in with curiosity. "Because it totally sounded like chemistry to me." Emily felt her cheeks heat up at Jess's enthusiasm. "I don't know, Jess. He is different, wealthy, confident. I don't think he'd be interested in someone like me." "Emily, you have so much to offer. Just because he is rich doesn't mean he is not interested in substance," Jess countered, her tone earnest. "You be smart, kind, and incredibly fascinating." "Maybe," Emily murmured, biting her lip as uncertainty twisted in her gut. "But what if he sees me as just a fleeting conversation? Then you're missing out," Jess exclaimed, her voice raising slightly. "You have to put yourself out there. Life is too short to be cautious all the time." Emily nodded, absorbing Jess's words, but doubt still lingered in her heart. Did she have the courage to reach out to Evan again? Would he even want her to? As they left the restaurant, the city lights flickered around them, casting a warm glow on the cobblestone streets. Emily felt a sense of yearning, a pull towards something she couldn't quite define. The contrast between the comforting familiarity of her life and the thrilling unknown of Evan lingered as they walked. "Let us go grab some coffee," Jess suggested, leading the way toward a nearby cafe. "I need something sweet after all that pasta." As they sidestepped a group of students, Emily's heart raced. Just ahead, she caught sight of a familiar figure leaning against a lamppost, his tailored coat hugging his frame perfectly. "Evan." "Oh, Jess," Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper, panic rising in her chest. "It is him." "What? Who?" Jess asked, turning around with a wide grin that quickly turned to confusion. "Oh wow, it is that guy from the library." Evan looked up, his eyes locking onto Emily's with an intensity that made her breath hitch. "Emily," he said, pushing off the lamppost with a casual grace. "Fancy seeing you here." "Oh, yeah," she replied, her voice catching in her throat. "Just out for dinner with a friend." "I see," he responded, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "Hope it was good." "It was," Emily said, trying to steady her nerves. "What about you?" "You're just finishing up some work," he replied, glancing at Jess, who was watching the interaction with wide eyes. "And I thought I'd get some fresh air." "Nice," Emily said, feeling the tension between them crackle in the cool night air. Jess nudged her playfully, and Emily shot her a warning look. "Do you have a moment?" Evan asked, his voice softening, and in that instant Emily felt the world around them fade away. "I'd like to talk." "Sure," she replied, her heart racing wildly as she stepped closer to him, leaving Jess momentarily behind. Their surroundings blurred, and Emily felt that familiar spark igniting once more. What would they discuss? What would happen next? The possibilities stretched before them like a blank page waiting for ink, and in that moment she felt a thrill of anticipation at what was to come. "Do you want to walk?" Evan suggested, gesturing down the street. "Okay," Emily agreed, her pulse quickening. As they began to stroll side by side, she caught Jess's gaze over Evan's shoulder, a mixture of encouragement and excitement, as if she knew something Emily didn't. About earlier. Evan began, his tone shifting to something more serious. "I wanted to say that I really enjoyed our conversation. You have this incredible way of looking at things, and the way you express yourself resonates with me." Emily felt a rush of warmth at his words, her heart fluttering like a caged bird desperate for freedom. "Thank you," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I enjoyed it too. It was unexpected." "Unexpected?" Evan echoed, his dark eyes gleaming with curiosity. "In what way?" She bit her lip, hesitating. "I guess I didn't expect to connect with someone like you," she admitted, feeling the heat rise in her cheeks. "You read different from anyone I've met." "Different good or different bad?" He teased gently, a playful glint in his eye. "Definitely good," she clarified quickly, her pulse racing. but it feels surreal, like I am in a dream. He chuckled softly, the sound wrapping around her like a warm blanket. A dream, huh? Maybe we should pin down the reality of this moment then. He paused, his expression turning serious. What are you afraid of, Emily? The question pierced through her, leaving her momentarily speechless. Afraid? She echoed, her mind racing. Yeah, you seem hesitant, he said, his voice low and earnest, an undercurrent of concern threading through his words. What is holding you back? Emily felt the walls she had built around her heart start to tremble. It is just I don't know if this is really real. I mean, Richard? Evan interjected, a flicker of something unreadable passing over his features. Is that what you implying? No, she protested quickly, the words tumbling out far too loud. Not just that, I mean, yes, but it is more like you have this life, this world that feels so far away from mine. He stopped walking, turning to face her fully, his expression serious. And what does that world look like to you? Emily hesitated, struggling to articulate her thoughts. It is just I am a graduate student trying to find my footing. I am still figuring out my dreams while working a part-time job just to get by. That doesn't make you any less worthy of connection, he said, his voice firm yet gentle. I admire your drive, your passion for literature. It is refreshing. Thank you, she murmured, her heart swelling slightly at his acknowledgement. But doubt lingered. But what if you were just being polite? I mean, you could have anyone. The moment hung between them like a fragile thread, each heartbeat amplifying the tension. Evan stepped closer, the space between them shrinking, and she felt the heat radiating off him. Emily, I am not here to be polite. I am here because I want to know you. Her breath caught in her throat, the honesty in his words taking her by surprise. But why, I am just me. Evan tilted his head, his eyes searching hers. Exactly. Just you. I am tired of the superficial connections that come with my world. I crave depth, authenticity. He paused, and she could sense the weight of his vulnerability. And I see that in you. Her heart raced, a blend of excitement and fear coursing through her. But you could have someone who fits your world better. Maybe, he replied, his voice low, barely above a whisper. But that doesn't mean I want that. It is not about fitting into a mold. It is about finding someone who challenges and inspires me. His words wrapped around her like a tender embrace, and she felt a spark of hope flicker within her. And do you think I am that person? She asked, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her tone. I think you have the potential to be, he replied, his gaze unwavering. But I want to know unless we take the time to figure it out together. What if we don't? The question slipped out before she could stop it, a flicker of doubt darkening her thoughts. What if it doesn't work out? Evan took a step back, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. Then we learn from it, we grow. Isn't that what life is about? His words hung in the air, and Emily felt a rush of emotions, a mix of fear, excitement, and an insatiable desire to get to know him. You make it sound so easy, she said, a hint of skepticism creeping into her voice. Life isn't easy, Emily, he replied, a softness returning to his gaze. But the connections we make can be worth the struggle. It is the moments of laughter, understanding, and intimacy that make it all worthwhile. Intimacy, she echoed, feeling the weight of the words settle heavily between them. That is the lot. It is, he replied, his voice low and sultry. But it is also beautiful. Are you willing to explore that with me? The air crackled with tension, and Emily's heart raced at the prospect. She felt a swell of longing deep within her and urged to lean into the connection, to explore the intimacy he offered. But lingering doubt still clawed at her. What if I am not enough? She whispered, her voice trembling. What if I can give you what you need? Evan stepped closer again, his presence radiating warmth and comfort. Emily, you're more than enough. Don't ever doubt that. You have your own unique light, and it shines bright. She felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, a mix of gratitude and fear threatening to spill over. It's just I've always felt like I had to prove myself. His gaze softened, and he reached out, brushing a stray hair behind her ear, a tender gesture that sent shivers down her spine. You don't need to prove anything to me. Just be yourself. Emily blinked back tears, overwhelmed by the sincerity in his voice. But I don't know what that looks like outside of books and academia. Then let us figure it out together, he urged, his voice low and inviting. Let us take the time to explore who we are, what we want, and how we can support each other along the way. Her heart raced at the thought. Together, she echoed, feeling the weight of the word. That is a big step. It is, Evan replied, his gaze steady. But I believe in taking risks for things that matter, and right now, you matter to me. His sincerity washed over her like a wave, and Emily felt her defenses crumbling. What if I want to be with you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Then let us take it one day at a time, he replied, his expression earnest. Let us be honest with each other, share our lives, and see where this leads. She felt a rush of hope flooding her heart, a sense of possibility blooming within her. Okay, she said, her voice trembling with excitement and trepidation. Let us do that. Good, he said, a smile breaking across his face that lit up his features. Because I think we're just scratching the surface of something incredible. As they resumed walking, the intimacy between them deepened, and Emily felt a thrill of anticipation. The world around them faded, leaving only the two of them and the possibilities that lay ahead. With each step, she felt lighter, more alive, as if she were shedding layers of doubt and fear. And as she glanced at Evan beside her, she couldn't help but wonder if this was the beginning of the story she had always longed to write, one filled with passion, depth, and the kind of love that transcends boundaries, merging two worlds into one. Hey, can I ask you something? Emily ventured, feeling the need to bridge the gap between their worlds further. Sure, anything, Evan replied, turning to her with an encouraging smile. What do you enjoy outside of work and being rich? She felt a twinge of nerves as she asked, curious about the man standing next to her. Evan's eyes sparkled as he considered her question. I love adventure, traveling to new places, trying new foods. I also enjoy art, whether it's visiting galleries or creating something myself that grounds me. Creating art? She asked, intrigued. What do you create? Just sketches here and there, he shrugged, a hint of humility creeping into his tone. Nothing serious, but it is my escape. That is amazing, she said, her excitement genuine. You'll have to show me sometime. Absolutely, he replied, his smile broadening. What about you? What do you do outside of literature? Emily felt her heart race. Well, I love cooking. It is my way of unwinding after a long day. Cooking, huh? Evan's eyebrows raised with interest. What is your specialty? She laughed, feeling the ease of their conversation. I make a mean lasagna. It is a family recipe. Lasagna, he teased, his eyes glinting playfully. I might just have to take you up on that offer. Only if you promise to share some of your sketches in return, she challenged, feeling a thrill of excitement. Deal, he said, the agreement sealing a bond that had begun to feel tangible. As they walked, the rhythm of their conversation created a comfortable cadence.